So let's say in your game you have a special box that can turn into a monkey or turn into a penguin, or from a penguin to a monkey, or vice versa, while the game is running. But you want to have a different state tree control the logic of that character depending on which one it is. Because monkeys can do different things like climb trees and find bananas, and penguins can waddle or belly slide or catch fish. So the question is, how do you make those changes? The issue we face is that once we have added our state tree component to our actor, we can change it before the game starts from one state tree to another. But once the game has started, there is no function to change the state tree asset. So we do not have any function that allows us to do that. So today we're going to look at 3 different ways in which we can achieve this while the game is running in code. So in our setup, we have 2 keys that can change from monkey to penguin, and then it will just change the static mesh to match. And the first option, we can just have 2 different state trees. So we can create one state tree here, call that the monkey state tree, create another state tree, call that the penguin state tree. Penguin state tree we can set as penguin and turn off start logic automatically. Monkey we can set as monkey and again turn off start logic automatically, because when our game starts there will be no state trees running. Then when we change the animal type, we can grab both of these. So when we go to monkey, first thing we do is we stop the penguin state tree, and then we can start or restart. So either of these 2, depending on what outcome you're looking for. Start the monkey state tree, and then when we go to penguin, first thing we do is we stop the monkey state tree and we start the penguin state tree. When we compile and go to the editor, and then when we play, so to begin with we've got no state tree. When I press M, we get monkey state tree, and when I press P, we get penguin state tree. And I can switch between the 2 and then be able to run any of the logic on those state trees accordingly. So that's one way of doing it. The other way of doing it would be to maybe create a 3rd state tree. So we could create artificial intelligence state tree component in our case. Just call that state tree main. Open that. And then we can add 2 states. So this could be the monkey. And this could be the penguin. Then on the monkey, we can set this as, instead of being a state, we can choose a linked asset. And in the linked asset, we can choose state tree monkey. In the penguin, we can change the type to a linked asset and change that to state tree penguin. To represent the default magic box state, we can just add that as a child state. Just call that magic box. Just give that a debug task. Magic box, and maybe just put that towards the top. Compile that and save it. We can then put some transition rules on our root. So we can click on root, go to transition, and we can choose the trigger can be an on event. From the required event, we can choose a tag for our trigger. I've created some tags for animal, monkey, and penguin. So for the monkey, we can choose monkey, and that will transition to the monkey state tree. We can then create another transition, and again we can choose on event, required event, we'll choose the tag to be penguin, and that will transition to the penguin. We can then compile that and save it. So the state tree should begin at the root, go to the magic box and stay there. But when it receives an event, it will then transition to one of these two linked asset state types. We then go back to our animal, and what we can do is we can maybe delete all of this. We can delete our two trees and just create a fresh one. So another state tree. We'll call that our main state tree this time. We'll choose our state tree main, start the logic automatically. Then when we actually trigger the action to change the animal type, we can take our state tree and we can send an event. Send state tree event. Split that, and in the tag we can choose which tag to go for. So this will be for monkey. Connect that up there. We can duplicate that with Control D. And this one will then be for penguin. So that should hopefully set up our state trees. Now if we go back to our third-person map, when we play, so first of all we get magic box as the default box. When I press M, we go to our monkey state tree. When I press P, to our penguin state tree. And we can switch between them with just a single key press. And that would then trigger the logic on both of those state trees when they become active. So that's a second way of doing it. For our third approach, we can take advantage of the fact that we are dealing with components when we are using state trees. So we can go back to our animal here, and we can delete what we've done previously. What we can do is take advantage of a node that exists. So if you right click and type in add state tree, there are two nodes that you can use, add state tree component or add state tree AI component, depending on the schema of your state tree asset. We're using this schema, so we'll grab the add state tree component. And then we can take advantage of the fact that components can be added and they can be destroyed. Originally, we saw that you could not change the state tree asset on the state tree component itself. So there was no set state tree. However, you can set main state tree reference. And on this add state tree component, you can set the actual state tree that you want. So if this is monkey, we can choose monkey. And then we can set this reference as being the main state tree and connect that up. However, before we connect it up, what we need to do is make sure that we don't end up with an extra component. So the first thing we will do is we'll take the main state tree and we'll tell it to destroy the component. So that will end the state tree that is currently associated with that component. We can then create a new state tree component and just set that as the reference. We can then do the same thing again. Just grab that, duplicate it, attach it here. And on this one, we can set the asset as being the penguin. And we can compile and we can play. So we start off with the magic box, which is the state tree main. Press M, we've got the monkey state tree. And press P, we've got the penguin state tree. And we can switch between them. So that's a third way by which we can do it. When you're using this type of a node to add a component, you don't actually need to even set this. So if I just get rid of all this, what we can do is remove the main state tree itself if we don't actually want it, and then we'll have no state tree by default. We can then use the add state tree component and just promote this to a variable. Call this our current state tree component reference. And we can then destroy that each time we add a new one. So instead of the main state tree, we'll destroy the reference that we created, and then we will set it. So that should compile okay. And when we play, so we've got no state tree running. I press M, we've got monkey state tree, penguin state tree, monkey state tree. We will get, obviously, this issue because the first time we set it, there is no component. So we should obviously check for that. So what you would do here is just check that that was valid in the first instance. If it is valid, destroy the component. If it isn't valid, just go straight there. And do exactly the same this way. So this time we shouldn't get any errors. No state tree, monkey state tree, penguin state tree, monkey state tree, penguin state tree. And we don't get any messages of any errors this time. So that's 3 different ways in which you can change or switch the state tree that is currently active. This approach using the add state tree component saves you from having to add any components unnecessarily, because you might not want this actor to have any state trees based on how the game proceeds. You can also use this in a switch statement when you first start your game to see which state tree would be added. So again, that's a very useful node that they've added to Unreal. So I hope that shows you how you can quite easily switch your state trees during the game at runtime, and therefore increase the flexibility of your AI.